Hello, welcome to Dungeon Doors Podcast. I'm your host Justin. Today we have another special Martial Arts Madness Month review. Today we're reviewing the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, The Quest, which he also directed and came up with the story with Frank Dux, who is famous for the Bloodsport movie, where in Bloodsport, Jean-Claude Van Damme was playing Frank Dux, who supposedly fought in an illegal tournament in China, which is, people question his legitimacy, but the guy came up with a cool story, and he also came up with the story for this film, which the screenwriters for this movie are Paul Moniz and Stephen Klein. In the movie, co-stars Roger Moore as Lord Edgar Dobbs, James Remar from Mortal Kombat Annihilation and The Warriors, if you've ever seen that movie. He also played Dexter's dad as Maxie Devine. You have Janet Gunn as Carrie Newton, Jack McGee as Harry Smythe, which in the movie they said it was with I, but it has a Y here. You have Louis Mandalore as Riggy, Aki Along as Cal, Adele Gissi as Khan, who is the Mongolian fighter. Which I wonder where this guy's from, because he doesn't look very Mongolian. Apparently he's from Morocco, right? Let's see if there's any other famous people in the movie. You got Shane Myers, Red, and no other big names in the movie, unfortunately. So the movie is about Jean-Claude Van Damme's character. What was his name again? Christopher Dubois, who is living in 1920s New York during the Depression, and is the leader of this gang of orphans. In the beginning of the movie, first off, you see him as an old man walking into a bar, sits down to have a drink when a gang of ruffians come in, try to rob the shopkeeper. Jean-Claude Van Damme in old man makeup beats the shit out of them with his cane and his kickboxing skills. And then the barkeep asks him, "Where did you learn to fight like that?" Where he retells his story about how he was living in New York as the leader of this gang of orphans. Where there's this sad story where there's a flashback where he got abandoned at a park as a kid, right? So these gang of kids plan this heist where they try to steal some money from these gangsters, while Jean-Claude Van Damme on stilts and clown makeup distracts the police and the crowd of people, right? The problem is the gangsters, because the kids were seen right before the robbery, the gangsters find out pretty quickly who did it, and they shoot up the place. Jean-Claude Van Damme quickly disarms them with his kickboxing skills, even though he's not supposed to have the kickboxing skills at this point in the movie, right? He quickly defeats them and goes on the run because the cops are looking for him also, and obviously they show up. In 2 minutes of hearing the gunshots, they show up, right? So Jean-Claude Van Damme's on the run. He runs to the pier, falls into a ship's storing area, where he wakes up and turns out the ship is out at sea, and the ship's occupants are gun smugglers that keep Jean-Claude Van Damme in chains as a slave. And right when they're about to throw him from overboard and feed him to the sharks, Roger Moore and his ship attack them. He turns out he's a pirate, but he lies to Jean-Claude Van Damme, tells him that he's part of the Royal Navy, right? Roger Moore at that point takes them to Mai Tai Island and sells them to Cal, who is this Thai kickboxer teacher, which keeps Van Damme as a slave. he was told by Roger Moore's character that the Cal was going to take care of him, and then he would be back to America and on his ship for 2 weeks. So 6 months go by. Jean-Claude Van Damme becomes a Muay Thai fighter. Wins a fight, which is seen by Roger Moore, his henchmen, and this beautiful American journalist from New York, who is Carrie Newton, right? After the fight, Jean-Claude Van Damme catches up to Roger Moore and Smithy, tells them about this tournament that takes place in this lost city in Thailand, where fighters from all over the world gather to fight, and if whoever wins this gold dragon statue, right? And one of those fighters is James Remar as Maxi Divine, who is a heavyweight champion of the world of boxing, which, he doesn't look like a heavyweight champion to me. Maybe middleweight or whatever, but I don't know. I'm not a boxing expert, right? So Jean-Claude Van Damme and Roger Moore and Roger Moore's henchmen pose as representatives of the fight, which is called the gang or some shit like that. Let's see if it's on Wikipedia. IMDb. Nope, it's not. Whatever. They pose as as representatives of the fight. You see them, and you see our characters travel to this location, riding on elephants, riding on horses. In an encounter at an inn where they see the Mongolian fighter, where they have a run-in with the Mongolian fighter, James Remar figures out pretty quickly that the guys he's running with are actually there to steal his map to the lost city and take his place as the fighter representative of the U.S. of A. What ends up happening is James Remar character challenges Jean-Claude Van Damme to a fight, loses, and James Remar, who is more interested in seeing an American win the tournament, lets Jean-Claude Van Damme take his place. After that, James Remar's role in the movie is just to be the hype man, hype man of the movie, and explain the different the fighting styles of the Chinese fighter, who is like, in the first fight he's using snake style, second fight's monkey, and the third fight he uses tiger, right, which is pretty cool. So they eventually get to the tournament, and people fighting in the tournament are a Brazilian guy using capoeira, a Turkish guy using I don't know what martial art. You have a Greek fighter who's using ancient Greece wrestling, which it has a name, I just don't remember what it's called. Which the guy turned out, despite the fact that he was a tall blonde dude with blue eyes, I was surprised to see in the credits that he was actually Greek. You got two fighters from Japan, which is, one is a sumo wrestler, the other one I think is some kind of like either Aikido or Judo. You got like the Kung Fu Chinese fighter, like I said. You also got a Korean fighter, probably using Taekwondo. There's an African fighter. There's one of the other fighters from Thailand who trained under the same master as Jean-Claude Van Damme, Chow, is also there, and they're pretty pissed off to see Jean-Claude Van Damme there, because you know Roger Moore's character was supposed to buy Jean-Claude back from Chow, and he didn't. They just snuck off, so that kind of pissed off Chow, but you know, he doesn't really do anything. You also have the Mongolian fighter, and there's a Spain fighter, there's a Scottish fighter, there's a France fighter who uses some kind of either karate or something. And like at the tournament, which I really love, once the movie is at the tournament, the pace gets really fast. You basically get to see a bunch of fights with all the different fighters, which, you know, most movies probably would have shown you one or two, but you actually see all the different fights throughout the different rounds, which, you know, the rounds, because it's a movie, go by pretty quick, but at the same time, it was really cool to see the different fighting styles of the movie, right? Which the movie kind of at this point, the movie kind of is kind of follows closely like Bloodsport, which is another movie that Frank Dux worked on, where like Jean-Claude Van Damme's friend in the movie dies by the strongest fighter, and Jean-Claude Van Damme has to avenge him. Which then that final fight was not the greatest, because it's basically Jean-Claude standing, not dodging at all, getting pummeled by the Mongolian fighter, gets knocked out the ring, right? And then he's on his knees, and there's a shot of him looking at the Mongolian fighter, and there's like you see some torches, his face lit up by fire, by the torches, and all the different fighters and his friends are there, like rooting for him to get up, right? And he gets up, he fights the Mongolian fighter outside the building, in the streets of the Lost City, where he eventually wins, and you get to see some fancy kicks by Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he finishes the guy with an uppercut, which made James Remar's character really happy, because that's obviously that's a move in boxing. So I really liked the movie. It had a lot of production value. It had a lot of heart. The movie's kind of slow at the beginning at some parts, but once we get to the tournament, it starts to get good. But the fight choreography and some of the fights are kind of iffy. And like one of the fights, there's a fight between the Scottish fighter and the Turkey fighter where the movie is like PG-13, by the way. So in that fight, it looks like the Turkish fighter rips the balls off of the Scottish fighter, right? Or something along the lines, right? Because it looks like he punches him in the balls, and it grabs something and pulls, which I thought it was like a repeat of the two championships Shaolin, where there's a scene in that movie where a guy rips the balls off another guy by accident. Well, and that was by accident. This looks like that. In this movie, it kind of looked intentional, but like you don't see any blood or anything. But like later on, you see the Scottish fighter watching the fight, so I don't think he got his balls ripped off. But, you know, that was a little iffy. Also, there's a scene where like Roger Moore tries to steal the Golden Dragon. using a Zeppelin from the German fighter, which was like, holy fuck, did they actually thought that was going to work? Which obviously they shoot it down, the residents of the Lost City shoot it down with crossbows, and then they were planning on, they capture Roger Moore, who wanted Jean-Claude Van Damme's character to throw the fight early on in the tournament, so he would be at full strength to help them to steal the dragon statue. He refuses because he promised Maxi Divine to win the tournament, right? And obviously Jean-Claude Van Damme's doing all this so he can get it, so he can get money, so he can get a trip back to America, right? So I don't know. The movie has its problems, but I really enjoyed the movie. And Jean-Claude Van Damme, I thought, did like an amazing job in the movies. So did the other characters. And the fact that this is like a tournament movie, a tournament martial arts movie that is half action adventure movie, and there's like a lot of cool locations, shots, a lot of production value. I really enjoyed the movie, but I'm gonna have to give it a 6.5 because there are some problems. But again, if you're a fan of tournament fighter movies, this is definitely worth watching. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Tomorrow I'm probably only gonna have time to post like one video. And we're gonna review the Stephen Chow movie Kung Fu Hustle. Alright guys, peace.